Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Top 100 Games by Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Tom asked me to do this about a good year and 8 months ago, and I'm finally getting around to finally making this happen based on schedules and things like that, and I'm excited to do it. I've been wanting to put this down on record for a while, so this will be my first Top 100 of all time. My games that I love, or Top 100 games that I love. And so we're going to start right now. We're going to do this in 20 game increments, so 5 videos total, starting with the bottom of the list first, obviously, which again, I always want to give this caveat, and Tom's always good about giving this caveat too. A top 100 is a sliver of great games out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of great games. Your favorites may or may not be on here, but because they're not on here, or if they are on here, doesn't mean anything really. It's just my personal opinion. And just because something is number 200 doesn't mean it's a terrible game. It means it's still a fantastic game. And so we are looking at games right now. Number 100, let's go. All right, my number 100 is Pictures. Pictures is a game all about you're trying to get people to guess what your picture is, and you're also trying to guess what everyone else is. So it's got that Pictomania feel of you want to be as accurate as you can with what your picture is, but you also want to be as accurate at guessing what everyone else's pictures are. And the interesting tweak and twist that this game has is that there are different ways of getting people to guess your items. So there are things like the strings. You have these 2 long shoestrings, and you have to kind of draw out with the shoestrings, basically trying to get people to understand which of the cards that you're referring to. There is the pixel box. This is my favorite. There are wooden cubes of different colors, and you get a little grid of 9, so 3, 3, and 3. Your job is to take 9 cubes and put them in this little pixel grid to look like this super zoomed in or even super zoomed out version of the image with only 9 pixels essentially. And so you're trying to get them to guess that. There are other ones which are wooden shapes. There's other ones that are rocks and pebbles and twigs and things like that. And then another one is using cards. So there are a lot of different ways to get people to guess what your image is. And then you'll keep going, and then you person with the most points at the end of the game wins, obviously. But it is an interesting twist on the game where you want to be accurate with your guessing and accurate with your communication. So you have to do both parts of this. You're not just trying to get people to guess, and you're not just trying to guess. So number 100, Pictures. Number 99, another one in the lighter games. Now you're going to see as this list develops that I like heavier games typically, but number 99 is a lighter party game. Just played this one yesterday at the time of recording this. This would be Codenames, and when I say Codenames, I'm including the entire spectrum of Codenames, whether it be Harry Potter or Marvel or what else we got over there, Disney or Pictures or regular. Codenames itself is one of the best party games out there that is really great at getting a lot of people into the idea of, hey, wait a minute, there's this whole genre of hobby games out there. I want to dip my toe into this, and Codenames is great for that. The one thing that's interesting, Codenames, I believe the box says 2 to 8 plus. Yeah, that plus should just say 2 to infinite, because really and truly, all you need is 2 clue givers, and then as many people as you want on your team. And so you're going to essentially have a grid of 25 different words out on the table, and whether you're playing with the picture side or whether you're playing with the non-picture side with the words, you're going to give 1 single word clue and the amount of guesses that clue hopefully refers to, and they are allowed to guess that many that you say plus 1. So for instance, we're playing the Disney one, and I see out there's Goofy, there's Pluto, and then there's another dog. I might say dog 2, and they're going to look up there and say, okay, well, he's probably talking about Pluto and Goofy. Pete, is he a dog or a cat? Well, he's a cat, but we'll just keep going from there. And so you're hopefully getting them to guess only your words and not guess the opponent's words, and that's what kind of makes the beauty of the push and pull of Codenames. But Codenames is a great game to get people into the hobby. I've never seen anyone who doesn't enjoy Codenames. It's just a really fun, solid game. So that is my number 99 on the list, and that would be Codenames. Number 98 is Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. This is one of those Fantasy Flight app-based adventure games set in the wonderful world of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth. In the Lord of the Rings series specifically, but right before and kind of adjacent to it at the same time. So this is interesting because you're going to play some of the characters from the movies, and you're going to do some of the daring things, but really and truly you're kind of going off into your own side quests and adventures that are adjacent to the book series and adjacent to the movies and playing them. Now what's cool about it, it does use the app And it really does two different types of missions. You either have the zoomed out adventuring and exploring the land of Middle Earth. It's a zoomed out map and you're kind of going to a forest or a town or things like that. But then you also have the more tighter maps, which are very combat based, kind of like the Mines of Moria. And so it's really interesting to push and pull between that. What's great about this though is the combat system is based on cards. Unlike dice in the other Fantasy Flight games, you're using cards, and it feels almost like a Gloomhaven-y style of where the cards do different things. You use them for successes and you use them for almost like time stories in this sense, but you use them for successes and you use them for other information as well. So the cards are really interesting. They're multi-use. You can set them and ready them and use them for the actual combat themselves, the successes, failures, etc., or you can use them for their abilities. So Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth does a really fantastic job of bringing Lord of the Rings and kind of that adventure and feeling to the tabletop. So number 98, Journeys in Middle-earth. Number 97, this is Hanabi. Hanabi is a phenomenal little game. It's a pocket-sized game in which you are going to get mad at your friends. Basically, that's what's going to happen. No, essentially, you're going to have cards, and you're going to hold 5 of them facing away from you. You are not allowed to look at your own cards. And essentially, based on looking at what other people have, and based on the clues that they tell you, you're trying to deduce what you have in your hand so that all of you collectively can build a firework display, essentially a solitaire, almost Klondike style solitaire, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of each color. But the ticket is you only have a certain amount of clues that you can give before you have to just start discarding cards to get those clues back so that you can give somebody else a piece of information. When you give a piece of information, you look at someone's hand, and if they have 2 of the same color or 2 of the same number, you wouldn't be able to just say this one is a 1 or this one's a blue. You would have to say, okay, these are both blue. These are both 1s. You have to navigate that push and pull of how can I give the best clue that I can, or should I just throw away a card that I know that we can play because there's 3 1s, 2 of everything else, and 1 5 of each number. How do we avoid that, right? So Hanabi, fantastic deduction game, very light, very simple. Everybody can grasp the concepts very quickly. But Hanabi, great game. 97, Hanabi. Number 96, this is The Mind. Actually very similar to Hanabi. You are working collectively together as a team to place cards out there, but there is something interesting that this game forces you to do. You learn your friends, and you learn their timing, and you learn how they think about things. For instance, your goal is you get, in level 1, everybody gets 1 card. Then 2, you get 2 cards, 3 cards, 4, up to a certain amount based on player count. And what you're trying to do is using just the knowledge that you have of the single card in your hand. There are 100 cards, cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 100. Only 1 of each. Your job is to collectively put together these cards in order. So I might have 6, you might have 17, this person might have 98, and the other person might have 99. And so it brings out some really interesting moments to where you're thinking, well, there's no way. 98, why would I play 98? I mean, I've got to wait. I'll be the last person. There's no way, the odds are too low that anybody will have 99 or 100. And so the person who plays 4 will play rather quickly. 17 will wait maybe a beat or 2, and then, okay, well, there's 17. And then the wait happens, and you two stare each other down, and you're thinking, why aren't they playing their card? It's got to be in the 40s or 50s. And lo and behold, you have 1 card away, and hopefully that other person will break before you do. And again, it's just become such a dynamic, fun thing to watch people put those cards out in order. And there's nothing more fun than seeing, you're going to lay your card and someone quickly throws down a card right before yours, and it just happens to work. And if it doesn't work, obviously you lose a life and you keep going. But as you're going to lay your 17, if someone slips that 16 down, there's nothing greater than that. So that is The Mind. Fantastic game. It really does make you feel like you're coming together with your friends and learning each other and how each other think. So The Mind. Number 95 is another fast intro party level sort of card game, and this is Point Salad. It's a very simple thing. You're either going to take 2 vegetables from the display in front of you or 1 of the 3 scoring cards. It's 2 or 1. It's very simple. You're going to try to make the best salad you can. Yes, I did just say that. Make the best salad you can out of the vegetables that you have in your hand, out of the vegetables that you have in your display. So essentially, you're going to take scorecards that benefits the vegetables you have, and you're going to take vegetables that benefit the scorecards that you have. And hopefully you can grab the best scorecards and the best vegetable combinations to where your carrots might be worth 5 points at the end of the game, and other things such as your beets or radishes or whatever they are combo together, and for every 2 of them you get this amount of points. So that is how you play Points Out. It's a fantastic, easy game to get people into play. They can learn the mechanics very simply and really get to going making the best salads that you can. But Points Out is a fun game to get people into playing quickly. It explains quickly, and you play it once and you can immediately play it back to back. So Point Salad, number 95. Number 94, this is a game that I play tested before I'd really ever even gotten into doing reviews. We play tested this game, printed and played it and everything. It was very interesting. And that is Mountains of Madness. Not Mansions of Madness, Mountains of Madness. This is a game by Rob Daviau, put out by ELO. It's gorgeous looking. I mean, you see it on the table, but basically you're playing these cards. You have a set of cards, they have a set of cards, and you're trying to collectively put down cards of suits to get into the set that each level that you're exploring. So let's say we're at the bottom of the board would be the I believe it's the water's edge or something like that. Anyway, the beach or something. So you flip it up and it'll say, all right, we need boxes between 5 and 7, and we need guns between 2 and 4. And so you can't say what you have, but you have to collectively put them out there, and hopefully you'll be accurate and get those right. If you get it right, great. You can continue moving on and get the bonus. If you miss it, someone has to take a madness. And the madness cards are very interesting because they do things to the players. Like the player may only be able to play with their cards above their head, or they may have to play with their cards below the table. They may not be able to speak until someone speaks to them, or if someone's looking in the eye, they can't speak, or they have to say or do certain things when they give their piece of information. So Mountains of Madness becomes this crazy cacophony by the end of it, of you're trying to get these cards in there, but it slowly gets harder and harder and harder, to where at the end you really feel like you're going mad. And what's also interesting, the colors of the suits are set typically in the bottom, right, in your hand. You know what, a gun is red, or the box is green, the books and stuff are blue, and the tools are yellow. Well, as you move up the mountain, the tiles start to play with those colors a little bit, and so it'll put the boxes in blue, and it'll put the boxes in red, and put the tools in green and stuff, and it really starts to play with your mind because you think, oh well, I have green, and then you look and wait a minute, that's not the right green this time. They did that on purpose. So it really does make you feel like you're absolutely going mad. So Mountains of Madness, really fun game. Plays pretty quick. It's actually very difficult, but check out Mountains of Madness. Really fun, interesting, crazy game. Number 93 is Whistle Stop. Now, you know that I love train games, and this is not the last train game that's going to appear on this top 100, but Whistle Stop does something different. It has this nice little, almost iPhone app pixel look, not pixel, but like just cutesy kind of isometric look. You're laying out these tiles in a very Bezier style. But instead of building a city or something like that, you're actually putting down tiles to move your train tracks across the United States to get the most points. And as you pick up these cubes and deliver them, it plays on some of the whole cube pickup and delivery system of other railroad games, but it doesn't do it in quite the same way. So I'm a big fan of Whistle Stop, how it looks, how it plays. Very simple but cutesy looking train game, but it does a lot more complex things than you first look at it and see. It's actually very difficult to master this game, but it looks good and it plays good. It's just a good looking little train game. It looks nice on the table. It has just a nice appeal, but also it has some interesting mechanics in the train game genre that have not been seen before. So I highly recommend go pick up what is this game called? Whistle Stop. Whistle Stop. Number 92, this is The River. Now, I'm always on the search for looking for games that are in the worker placement genre that are easy to learn and easy beginner style games. The reason I say that is because everyone has a mass market reference for area control. You can go, well, it's kind of like Risk. Everybody has a mass market reference for things like Scrabble, or for word games, puzzle games. You can go, well, it's kind of like Scrabble. It's kind of like categories. It's kind of like this or this. There is no mass market reference to worker placement, so I'm always looking for that easy worker placement game to get people into showing them what worker placement even is, so that they can go, oh, well, that's a really cool concept, considering worker placement is my favorite genre overall of gaming. So getting someone into this new genre that didn't exist in the mass market hobby, to where if you never played if you never played these kind of hobby games, you would never see a worker placement game. it's kind of interesting. And so I'm always on the search for that. And so the river does this really well. It introduces the concepts, but also has some nice added tweaks. It looks good. It's got that Days of Wonder appeal to it. It has some good twists and things that you can do with it, but I really enjoy how the river plays and how it changes as you build and take the tiles and expand, and the push and pull of getting resources versus spending them to do things. So that is the river, number 92. Number 91 is the first tile laying game I have on the list. You're going to take tiles, 2 of them between 2 cities, and you could technically put between 2 castles in here because they're about the same, but I put between 2 cities because I still like the basic appeal of the original. Take the 2 tiles out. You're going to be playing between 2 cities. You are not your own city. You and the person to your left and you and the person to the right share a city. And you have to take 2 tiles, and you're going to play 1 tile to your left and 1 tile to your right to benefit those cities. And it has a very interesting catch-up mechanic, or I should say hold-down mechanic, to where you can't just say, well, heck with this person's city, I'm going to go crazy on this one. You only score personal points at the end of the game for your lowest scoring city. So the idea, obviously, is to make both of those cities rise up together to where none of them are disparately affected, because if the one is hanging so far back, well, then you're not going to get to score it anyway. So between 2 cities does some really interesting mechanics in how you score, but also it forces you to choose, okay, do I want to build this to the city on my left, or do I want to put it on the city to my right? Really interesting stuff. So that is between 2 cities. Stonemaier Games, produced, not designed by Jamie, but really, really fun game. So number 90, we're 10 games into this. Here we go, Dead of Winter. This was the first heavier game I really played, first zombie game I really played. It does some cool dice action selection systems to where you're looking and searching and killing zombies, and you have to attack with this certain set of number dice. You couldn't attack if you didn't have, 3 or 4 or 5. You can get weapons to make your things better, but you're also playing in a semi-co-op style to where you have your own personal goal, where yes, you do have to survive, but you also have to survive and complete your goal. There's also a betrayal mechanic in there that could get shuffled in, or it may not. So the whole time you're thinking, who is trying to make us lose? And then sometimes there won't be one, but you've accused someone the entire time. So Dead of Winter is a fantastic zombie game that does a lot of really great stuff in a small footprint. It doesn't take up a ton of room on the table, even though you have those nice standees and stuff. So that is number 90, Dead of Winter. Number 89 is Forbidden Island. This is the first pandemic style game on the menu here, on the top 100. Forbidden Island is a fantastic looking, just gorgeous art. This surreal, it's kind of half cartoony, half super surreal art. You're trying to treasure hunt on this island, and the water is rising, and you have to get to the treasure and get it off the island before the whole island sinks below the earth, below the water. And so you have certain powers where maybe you can move faster, you can move diagonal, you can turn over extra tiles when you're flipping tiles back over out of the water. But it does have that pandemic style feel. In fact, it's the same designer, Matt Leacock designed it. Gorgeous looking, really fun, and it's easier to teach this than it is to teach pandemic necessarily, because you can it's tighter, I should say. So what you can and can't do, and you flip over the cards and the water rises, and now you're going to flip over 3 water cards this time, or you're going to turn over 3 tiles instead of whatever. So it really does kind of escalate the danger, but also keeps the fun there of that pandemic style, and it's easier to teach. My one gripe, it's in a 10. I hate 10s. So number 89, Forbidden Island. Number 88 is Cryptid. Cryptid is a phenomenal game all about deducing, all about deduction and deducing where a certain tile on the board is. And this will be marked in the rule book or marked somewhere which tile you're all trying to get. You will get 1 clue, and then you will see where everyone else places their tokens. You'll ask, if someone can place a token elsewhere, and you're going to use this information that you keep getting to find out, okay, wait a minute, I think I know what their clue is. Their clue is that they can't put it within 1 space of this type of tile. And I know I can't put mine within 1 space of this tile. So I'm noticing nobody's putting it here, here, and here. So it's all leading you to this one place. I will say with Cryptid, the very first and probably second time you play, you're going to feel like a moron. I know I do. I was like, I have no clue what people are doing. Why is this working? And then finally it clicked and I was like, oh, this is really good. I get it. I see how to play Cryptid now. I finally understand what's happening and why everybody was enjoying it the last 2 times, and now I'm finally like, yes, this makes so much sense. So Cryptid, fun little game. It's not the prettiest game in the world. It's kind of bland actually to look at, but it's really, really cool the way you use each other's information to deduce the final outcome. So that is Cryptid. Next up is Fury of Dracula. This is a hidden movement game based in Bram Stoker's Dracula series. All of you will take the role of some sort of vampire hunter, whether it be Van Helsing or the Harker lady, and then some of the other characters from the book, obviously. And then one player will play Dracula. Dracula's movement will be hidden, but you'll have certain actions which you are trying to do to influence the spaces and make them, maybe you act like you're in one place, or you put a curse on this one space, or you bring werewolves out, or you do whatever. Vampires, not werewolves. You bring all these kind of enemies that they have to face out until they finally find you, and then a confrontation happens. And then if you take enough damage, you can get out of the fight and you can escape, or if you get killed, they win, obviously. But the goal is for Dracula to last as long as he can, and if he lasts the longest, he obviously wins the game. But that is Fury of Dracula. Now, it's just a good looking game. It's been around for a long time, but it just looks good and it's fun to play. So Fury of Dracula, get your hands on it. It's one of the best hidden movement games there is. This is Captain Sonar. This is an 8-person real-time submarine game. 2 teams of 8 people, 4 and 4. Everyone has a different role. Your role might be to captain the ship, and you'll have to say north, south, whatever, north, east, south, north. You direct where to go. You mark it on the map. You might be the radio operator, which means you're listening to the other person's captain and you mark down where you think they're going. Someone has to take care of the ship and make sure that it gets fixed up, and you can only fix certain things based on which direction you get called. So you may want to tell your captain, okay, wait, go here so that we can fix this part of the ship, or we can launch torpedoes. Someone is the technology officer, where they're kind of making sure that, okay, if you say north again, if we go east or west, we'll now have this ready and we can do this. So every role is different. It's hectic. It's fun, though. It feels so cool to play this as you are trying to specifically pin down where your enemy is by listening to their captain, and they're listening to your captain, but you're trying to find them and play this cat and mouse, Hunt for Red October type submarine game. Number 84 is the first Stefan Feld game on this list, and that would be Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a great game all about, doing different actions on the board out there. You're playing cards out of your hand. You're drafting cards from each other to get the actions that you can do. You can do the actions on the card. Each time you put a token where your action is, that action gets better and better and better. But much like Feld games, every time you feel like you want to do 3 things, but you can only do 1. And so it's tricky because you're like, well, I really need to do this, and I have to avoid getting, I need money, but I also need points, etc. So there's a lot of interesting things at play here, but that major choice that is in every Feld game is very present with which of these cards do I play, because you're only going to get to play, I believe it's 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4 of the cards in your hand that have been passed and drafted. So you may get some really great actions, and you may have 2 that you're like, I want to play both of these, but I have to pass one. So Notre Dame does some really interesting mechanics with that. This is Food Chain Magnate. Yes, on the table it does look like a prototype, but it's supposed to look 1950s style. That's an argument for another time. What I want to talk about is how viciously, savagely good this game is. It is a fantastic economics simulator, all about the golden era of food chains and coming, attacking each other and going for the curb on the market of, was it Insta Burger King or all this sort of stuff, as I listen to the Business Wars podcast on Burger King versus McDonald's, and just listening to the history of those restaurants and Wendy's and KFC and all these things kind of come about. It really does make me want to play Food Chain Magnate even more and more, because you're essentially trying to sell the burgers for the closest. You can try to be the closest to the customers and sell it for the lowest price so that they'll come to your store. And then eventually, when you've got the corner on the market, you can jack up the prices and they will pay you because they want your food. It's just a really good economic simulator. But Food Chain Magnate, gorgeous to play, not that gorgeous to look at necessarily, and paper money. Next is Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, yes, that's right, is in fact number 83 on the list. Gloomhaven is a just monster of a game. It's heavy, it's huge, it does some amazing things, but Gloomhaven is one of the best dungeon crawler games out there. You play it in a full campaign style. There's hundreds of hours of content in here. Just tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff to do, but you have a unique combat system. You have a unique system how you can unlock new characters. It feels like an old school NES, Super NES RPG, a JRPG brought to life on the tabletop. So, you're going to build up your town at home and the benefits that gets you, but then you're going to go out and do these missions, and you're going to have arcing paths to where, well, I can go this way and fight here, or I can go this way and fight here and do this mission. This sounds shady, so I'm going to go over here. Oh, I got a side quest where I can potentially get this really cool treasure item. Oh, I've unlocked a new character. My character has gotten so old they died permanently, and now I unlock a new character to replace them. It's just so much good stuff to say about Gloomhaven. It's unique in its fantasy, it's unique in the way it plays, but Gloomhaven, definitely on the list. That's Gloomhaven. Number 82 is Chocolate Factory. That's right, you become your own Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. You are producing chocolate, chocolate bars, chocolate truffles, different types of chocolates, and you're trying to get the most money, prestige points, all that sort of stuff at the end of the game. Why I picked this, though, is the very unique conveyor belt system. You will put a cocoa bean on the conveyor belt, an actual conveyor belt, and push it through your board area. And every turn, you're going to take this little conveyor belt and move it through. And so when you choose to pull it off of the conveyor belt is when you can choose to do the action with it. So maybe you're going to refine the cocoa bean into a sort of a chocolate bar, or that chocolate bar that can be refined into something better. And you do these actions based on where they are, and you can get better actions on the top and bottom of those, what is that called? The thing I just said. The conveyor belt. And then at the end, hopefully you're able to fulfill the orders to sell to somebody out there. Chocolate Factory is a beautiful looking game, but my goodness, it's one of the most unique, interesting action selection mechanics, because you really feel like you're playing in a factory and you have to quickly pull it off, or else you'll feel like you end up like Lucy just eating all the chocolate. But Chocolate Factory, it looks good, it plays very good as well, so I'm a humongous fan of Chocolate Factory. Last for this video, we'll come back and hit the rest of them soon. This is Bosk. This is the tree game in which you score two types of area control. You're playing an entire year of trees. You're going to plant new trees out there, and then the leaves are going to fall, and then you're going to score points for that. So you're going to first score points based on straight lines. Lines this way and lines this way on a grid. The person who has the most points in those lines, or the person who has the most trees in those lines, scores the points per those lines, this way and this way. Fall happens, and you start dropping leaves off these trees that you have out there into these areas, and then you're going to start scoring the area control based on those areas that are out there. So it really does a unique system to where, well, I've positioned myself to really do good on the tree section, but I haven't positioned myself that great to get those leaves as far out as I need to go to conquer these areas. So two different types of area control based on trees in one game. Bosk does it really well. It looks gorgeous on the table because it's got those three-dimensional trees. The leaves look great when they fall out there, and it just really does look like you've got this forest that now turns into fall and all the leaves fall off. So I'm a huge fan of Bosk. It looks great, and that Bosk rounds out the end of this first installment in the top 100 for Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you're thinking so far, the top 100 list, what you thought you loved in my top 100, what's too high, what's too low, and keep watching as we travel forward to the #1 game of all time, which you will see soon, this month actually. So I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until then, we'll see you.